AAA Mid-Atlantic is taking a tough posture on today's closings of rest areas in Virginia. AAA says, quote, "The shuttering of 18 rest areas along Virginia's interstates overnight marks a new low point in Virginia's transportation budget wars. Today, the first day of the closures, tens of thousands of drivers and their families will feel the impact immediately. Highway safety, not to mention comfort, hospitality, and tourism, have today taken a big hit. We renew our call to Governor Kane to find the $9 million and reopen the rest stops," unquote. And joining us now to discuss the closings is Lon Anderson, Director of Public and Government Affairs for AAA Mid-Atlantic. Lon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, AAA says in the headline, "Point made, now reopen the rest areas." What's the point that's been made in your view?
Well, what we're hopeful is that the governor wanted to drive home a point to the legislators who, as many will remember, he called the Virginia legislature into a special session a year ago, last summer, and said, we have a transportation funding crisis, we need more money for transportation. They gave him zero. So that has largely precipitated the current crisis, and I'm hopeful that perhaps he wanted to make a point with the legislature and do something that was very obvious and say, we're out of money, we can't keep the rest stops open. This is something that is very, very visible to the public and has a big impact, and our phones have been very busy with AAA members saying, what in the world are they doing in Virginia?
So you have gotten a lot of response from your customers.
Oh, we certainly have. Our folks who have either been on vacations, getting ready to take vacations, are calling to ask, is it true that they're actually closing the rest stops? I mean, people have been incredulous that this would happen. So we're hoping that, in a way, perhaps this is making a political statement, that the governor is sending a message. And what we wanted to say is, message heard, now let's reopen the rest stops and do what's good for highway safety. Because we know that driving while you're tired, causes as many as 100,000 crashes a year in the United States, according to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, causing some 1,500 deaths, 70,000 injuries. Driving while tired is a big problem, and AAA regularly says, when we give our tips about how to travel safely, stop often, rest, take breaks, stretch your legs, get a caffeinated drink. Those are all things you can do at a rest stop.
Now, Lon, some would say that that's true, but there's been so much development, in the past 20, 30 years at the exits now that it isn't that hard to take a stop at the exit and stretch. What would you say to that?
Well, when you're trying to get people to stop on a trip, you want to make it as easy as possible. And frankly, having to get off the highway, take an exit, and then go to some place where you're likely going to have to spend money doesn't make it easy. And I had a AAA member call me and say, when I go on vacation with our 3 children, if I pull into a McDonald's, that's a $15 potty stop.
Right.
So you certainly have to understand that. And certainly, if you pull into a commercial establishment to use their facilities, there's kind of an expectation you're going to spend some money with them.
Okay. All right. Now, you're saying also that $9 million, you call it a truly paltry sum, asking Governor Kane to find the necessary money. Is $9 million that paltry?
Well, it's a lot to you and me, but when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar budget that the state has, $9 million becomes a pittance. And that's why we think perhaps this is more a political statement. We are convinced that if the governor really wanted to find the money to reopen these, to keep them open or reopen them, he could do so. And that's what we're asking him to do because, frankly, it's traveler safety is on the line here. Some number of people are going to zoom past these closed facilities when they're tired and shouldn't be driving any further. And because they're not open, they're not going to be stopping, and they're going to be endangering all of us.
Okay. Lon Anderson, Director of Public and Government Affairs for AAA Mid-Atlantic, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bob.
And now let's send it back to Mel in Stanton.